Okay, Evolution of Jazz 2, we're on to Module 7. This is our third bebop module where we're going to continue to explore bebop music. The drummers we're going to talk about and the people they played with: Philly Joe Jones, who was famous for playing with the Miles Davis Quintet of the 50s, and there'll be some music from that group in there. Also the great Mel Lewis, who was very, very important to me. He was one of my teachers who I met through Joe Morello, but I used to follow him around when I was a kid in high school and then later on while I was in college. He had a very famous group. It was he and the trumpet player Thad Jones. You'll see videos in this module where Thad and Mel played together. They had a big band that played at the Village Vanguard in New York, and they played there for 20 years, originally with Thad and Mel Lewis, and then Mel Lewis took it over when Thad left to go to Europe. But that band still continues, even though both of them have passed away. That band is still performing today at the Village Vanguard in New York with the great drummer John Riley playing. I think he's been in it longer than Mel was, so I think it's been going for maybe close to 50 years now. If you're ever in New York on a Monday night, that big band still plays at the Village Vanguard. It's now called the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra, but it was the Thad Jones Mel Lewis group. And here's a great picture of Mel in the book that my friend Mitchell Seidel took. And one thing, I've got a couple of cymbals here, and they look pretty weird. They've got these cutouts, and these were copies of one of Mel's famous cymbals, the most famous cymbal that he had. He had a cymbal that broke in the 50s, and it wasn't that great, but once it broke, he cut these things out to stop it from breaking more, and the cymbal had a great property, and he used them on about 1,000 recordings. So after he passed away, I was lucky enough to have the cymbal in my possession, and I got the Zildjian Cymbal Company to try to make some copies, and these are copies of that cymbal. Kind of a mellow sound, and you'll notice there are 2 copper rivets in this cymbal, and that makes the cymbal sustain a little bit more than without it. So it's kind of a dead sound with some sustain from the rivets. This cymbal was a copy of an old K Zildjian cymbal that he had. This is a more modern K Zildjian cymbal from the Zildjian Company. It had a flat bell on it. And you'll hear in the module the way that Mel played. It was very loose. It was like a small group in a big band, and he would play kind of almost Dixieland. And one thing he had shown me, which I hope you'll find interesting even for those non-drummers that are looking at this in Evolution of Jazz, he had a way of keeping a band together, and he called it the rub-a-dub concept. And it sounds kind of weird, but if you sing jazz 8th notes, boo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo, kind of like a horn player, the problem that a lot of drummers have is they go ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, and it sounds stiff. But do-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. It puts an inherent swing in the music. And if a band plays a rhythm, say the band goes boonk ba ka-doo, buck ba. Mel would play rub-a-dub 8th note sounding rhythms around that. Drummer plays daga 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 daga, and the band has any figure, bump bump bump, ba-doo ba da 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 ah ah ba-doo da. If the drummer's playing 8th notes, rub a dub. It keeps everything together, and the video examples you hear of all the musicians that Mel Lewis played with, you can hear that in his playing. So I hope you find it interesting. We're expanding our study of bebop here in the Evolution of Jazz 2 class. Hope you enjoy the videos in this module.